The sad part is once you've lived in New York, it's hard to live anywhere else. I have been a renter in New York City. I've been an owner of a New York City apartment, a landlord of a New York City apartment, and now a real estate agent.
What do newcomers usually get wrong about renting?
I wind up hearing that somebody cheated on their husband or something. I didn't ask for this. No broker fees in New York, but that's a lie.
The demand is so high and the supply is still not there.
Oh yeah. I was on the subway once and a group of like nudists got on the subway. And guess what? You just sat there and you go to work. Like it was nothing else was ever happening. There's probably 30,000 real estate agents in New York City, and unfortunately 2/3 of them are shit.
It's some sort of like matchmaking, I would think.
I'm a cursing New York Italian.
What are like the 3 red flags that I would have to look at when I'm just here?
Number 1, if they ask for...
So your normal real estate agent sends you emails once a month or twice a week. I don't care. I don't look at them. I'm just too bored of that. But then you have someone who does something so different that you're just like, what the hell? Welcome to the podcast, Joey Nina Jr.
What's going on? Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. Before I even get into what you do, tell me about the story you told me.
So one of the things that I got a lot of engagement on in social media and actually made me a decent amount of business, I handed out flowers this last Valentine's Day with my business card stapled to it with a little QR code. And it just said, all you need in life is love and a great real estate agent. So I got a lot of people retweeting, posting on their stories and all this stuff. And a girl posted on it. She goes, isn't this so great? And I was like, it's a plastic rose from Temu. I bought like 1,000 of them, but I didn't tell her. I said they were forever roses. She posted on her story. Her friend came by to pick up a flower and said, you know, my friend posted this. I had to come by. I have a question about whatever, her co-op or this and that. Turns out she needed to sell her co-op in the Upper East Side. And from handing out these little roses, I got a listing out of it. And you know the statistic that like 98% of real estate agents don't survive the first year in the business, let alone in New York City.
Right.
It's way more obtainable than most people think to be an agent. And handing out plastic flowers from Temu is like proof in the pudding.
No, you're not even exaggerating the number, right? You did get 1,000 roses.
It was somewhere around 1,000. I mean, I didn't count them, and it was from Temu, so who knows if it was accurate. But I had them in a little shopping cart, basically, with a speaker with Frank Sinatra playing. I was wearing a red suit. It was freezing out. I should have planned a little bit better for the weather, but got a listing out of it, made a whole bunch of friends in the community. And, like, being a real estate agent, like you said, the emails are boring. Hey, here's a market update. Here's what the mortgage rates are this week. People want to shake a hand, meet me. Like if you're going to spend every Saturday morning for the next couple months looking for your condo or your rental or whatever, you better like hanging out with me.
Exactly.
You know?
No, I saw your profile and I was just like, I got the funny classic Long Island vibe where I was just like, hey, I'm walking here, something like that. I was just like, I have to reach out to this guy. And I loved the whole profile and everything. And the fact that like, that's some crazy marketing, man. Like I have not heard of something. I mean, I've seen people do some crazy stuff and get nowhere, but like you got like stuff out of it.
Yeah, so I mean like Ryan Serhan is one of my idols and one of the reasons I got into the industry.
I love that guy.
And he is a creative. Like he owns like more of a media agency than a real estate agency where they have so much creativity and so many different platforms. He's a celebrity more than anything else. And my goal is to be like a miniature version of that for now until I scale my business and have more touch points, more handshakes and all that stuff. So I have a couple more events like that coming up. I'm planning something now for Halloween, but I haven't figured out all the details just yet. But I'm thinking an Upper East Side doggy costume contest. Stay tuned.
That's crazy, man. Okay, Joey. So when I come to New York, I want to rent an apartment. Mm-hmm. All right? What do newcomers usually get wrong about renting over here?
So if you're not from New York, or even if you're a transplant from like another country, like a lot of immigrants are, you don't know New York other than like the Spider-Man movie. Mm-hmm. You know, like there's the neighborhoods specifically are all so very different, and there's a different vibe, there's different culture, there's different transportation. People think that New York is walkable from one end to the other when it's really not. And my first question is obviously, where are you working? Do you need to commute to somewhere specific, right? And then I finalize like a location that's convenient enough via subway.
Right.
And then, you know, I don't want to discriminate. I don't want to put you in a place where I think you belong. I try to ask and lead you to tell me.
Right.
So depends. Like if you're looking for more of a party vibe, if you're looking more for a quiet neighborhoody vibe, there's very different sectors of Manhattan or Queens or Brooklyn that it's really dependent on someone's personality. But learning the city is the first step.
Right.
So giving someone a famous YouTuber's channel to go watch and say, listen, like watch a couple of their neighborhood tours, find out like where you want to be, and then I'll take somebody around the city for a weekend, you know, and like help finalize the location first.
Yeah.
Because obviously the first thing somebody comes up to me with is their budget.
Right.
You know, like, listen, I want to spend $3,000. And you can find on Street Easy right now, on apartments under $3,000, how many units do you think there's available right now? Let's do a quick search.
Is it like a one bed?
I'm just going to search under 3,000 just to see what we can get.
I'd say like 100.
So in all of New York City, 2,500 to 3,500 a month, there's 3,500 units.
No way.
Actually, it's still loading. About 3,500 units right now in summertime 2025. So now my goal and my job and what my expertise is to whittle that down to one
Right.
that I think is going to be for you.
So you do the whole thing. Like, I think when I was coming in 2021, I was like 22. And like the first thing someone told me was like, where do you want to stay? I was like, Manhattan.
Yeah.
That's probably like the stupidest answer anyone can give, right?
That basically means I have a lot of work for me. But that's what I get paid to do.
Right.
You know, I'm a New York City expert. I have been a renter in New York City. I have been a renter with 6 roommates in New York City. I've been a renter on my own. I've been leveling up. I've been an owner of a New York City apartment, a landlord of a New York City apartment, and now a real estate agent. So
Right.
I have a whole gamut of spectrum of experience.
Right.
Especially, I've touched every corner of the city, being a real estate agent, being all over the city every single day, that there's so many nuanced things and questions that you started from zero.
Yeah.
And like, I want to hear your story. Like, did you find the right apartment? Did you pick the right neighborhood that first time? What was like the biggest problem that you faced?
Dude, the first thing that someone told me was, he was like, we're going to look for a place in Washington Heights. And that's like such a good luxury apartment. I was like, oh, like that might be a good idea. I called up this friend of mine who was studying in Columbia. And I asked him like, dude, this is what he's telling me, like this other guy. And you think it's a good place? That friend straight up told me, like, do you want to do like a social suicide? Do you not want to have any friends? Do you want to you'd rather live in Jersey City at that point?
Yeah.
And
Save money. That's
Yeah.
far. Unless you go to school up there or like work up there, you know, it's not that convenient to get to, but you wouldn't
Yeah.
know. How would you know? You go on Google Maps and it's like half a mile away. And anybody else in the rest of the world, half a mile is nothing until you realize you have no car.
Yeah.
You're dependent on walking to the subway, taking the subway or a bus or a tram or a ferry, and now multiply that by 10 for when it's snowing or raining or there's weekend planned service disruptions, and that's the only mode of transportation you have. And that's what I basically follow up my next question with is like, how do you get around? How often do you work remote? Do you go to the office? Like, there's so many different things. For me, the commute is one of the biggest things.
Right.
And like where you want to get to 4 or 5 days a week. How long is it going to take you to get to your normal, like your gym, your work, your girlfriend, whoever,
Mm-hmm.
that you have to make as convenient as possible. Because being in New York City is all about convenience.
Right.
If it wasn't about convenience, you'd be out in the suburbs or New Jersey, like you said, to go
Yeah.
save some money.
Right.
But you want to be in the action, near the bars, the restaurants, work, party, everything. So it's a very delicate balance.
No, it depends on like what you want, like entirely.
Exactly.
Like at my age, like I was studying at NYU, so going from Washington Heights to NYU, it was just like 45 minutes. Like at that point, it's like I'd better stay in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another conversation I have with people, especially if they're not finding a place that they like in their price range.
Yeah.
Say, let's look at Queens, let's look at Jersey or whatever.
Right.
Because you can probably get twice the unit,
Right.
and it's probably the same commute. But it's a little bit different of a vibe, of a community, of what subway or bus that you're taking. Personally, I'm not a Jersey guy. I don't want to rely on the PATH train to get me to work. If that's 6 months of construction ahead of me, then what do I do? But, you know, it's to each their own.
No, that's totally fair. So, like, what are like the 3 red flags that I would have to look at when I'm just here? I don't know much about like the New York City apartments.
Number one if they ask for any money up front before you see the apartment,
Okay.
run. And first off, you're only supposed to pay a $20 application fee.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Unless it's a condo and there's condo application fees or a co-op. They're a little different. But those don't come until after. The original application should only be $20. Nobody should ask for a deposit to come see a place because it's a scam.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is where you find the listing.
Okay.
If you find it on Craigslist or Facebook or some other site that does not have a license behind it, essentially, you're rolling the dice. It's like buying something on Facebook Marketplace. Like, are you going to trust a $3,000 apartment times 12 months, all that money in somebody's hands that might not even exist? That might be a scammer.
Right.
Like, I'm a licensed real estate agent. I hold a license with New York.
Right.
Like, everything I say is scrutinized crazy, where I can't even say certain things like this apartment is steps from the subway because some people don't have legs. It's
Yeah.
discriminatory against non-ambulatory people. So everything that a licensed broker posts has to be legit.
Right.
So seeing where you find the listing is very important. The third red flag is probably going to be the price
Okay.
/ like the listing itself. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Like if the place has beautiful AI generated images and it's virtually furnished and it's $2,000 a month,
Right.
it's not real. It's not real because that would have been gone
It's the heart
already.
of Chelsea.
Yeah, that's like somebody sending me a listing in the West Village or Chelsea for like $2,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
don't even click on this. It's probably a virus.
Right. I mean, yeah, I feel like for me, like when I landed, I saw like a few places. In fact, the most interesting thing was like before I'd landed, I found someone to go look for apartments for me, and she was charging me $20 per viewing.
So that's a little different.
She did like a video call,
Yeah.
but that was the only thing I trusted because she was doing the verification part for me. Where
Mhm.
like if someone puts like a crazy apartment, she's the one going seeing it and like doing like a video call live.
Yep. It's basically like that's a cheaper version of hiring an agent, essentially.
Right.
But you're putting your trust in someone that's doing this as their source of income.
Yeah.
Are they performing a licensed activity without a license? That's not up to me to decide.
Right.
But they're also not there asking the same questions that I would be asking
Exactly.
and getting the same documentation or asking the right questions or negotiating. You know, I know what certain buildings or certain landlords are willing to give. I have a couple buildings I do a lot of deals in that I know they're going to cover a year's worth of amenities if you just ask it one time.
Okay.
And most people would either not ask it
Mm-hmm.
or try to negotiate something else like the rent, where you have to understand from a landlord's perspective, they don't want to negotiate the rent down. They'd rather give you concessions because if they sell the building, it shows less return on investment.
Okay.
So that's why you'll see certain things, and this is another, not a scam, but a lot of people get tripped up on this. When you see a listing that says $4,000 a month, 1 month free, net effective rent is whatever, in the like 3,600.
Yeah.
They don't know what that even means. The reason landlords do that is, like I said, to keep their income, their revenue higher on their spreadsheets
Mm-hmm.
because these incentives don't have to be disclosed the same way.
Mm.
And you're paying that higher number every month. You're getting it free on the front or the back end of 12 months. And that's
Right.
very important. Like I had a woman reach out to me. She's like, "Oh, I like this apartment, but what is this? It says 4,000, but 36. Which one am I paying?" I'm like, "You're going to get that at the end of the lease. And you're going to be paying the $4,000 every month." She's like, "I can't afford $4,000 a month. It says 36."
Right.
And that's a simple question, but a lot of people get tripped up on it, you know? And a lot of people in New York City are transplants, and this market is so different.
Right.
It's not like renting somebody's basement in New Jersey
Mm-hmm.
where it's cut and dry. You're dealing with a mom and pop landlord. You're dealing with some landlords here own thousands of buildings or units. It's crazy. And don't even get me started on the condos and co-op stuff.
Oh yeah, talk to me about that. There's like I
okay.
think there's like 3 or 4 types of like, apartments or something.
Yeah, so for a rental apartment, like a regular person would rent, there's rental buildings where the whole building is a rental and it's usually owned by a big landlord.
Right.
There's condos, which is an intermediary where sometimes the condo owns a couple units, sometimes a regular person owns a couple units. Like if somebody wanted to buy a unit and rent it out, they could do that. You might be renting it from someone like me,
Mm-hmm.
or you might be renting it from a big landlord. There's co-ops, which are similar to condos, but they're a little stricter, a little harder to get into. And there's usually an interview, which sometimes you have to be in person for, which cuts a lot of people out. Like if you weren't here yet, you can't interview. But things have been a lot better since COVID with Teams or Skype or DocuSign. So that's changed things a little bit. But condos and co-ops have a little bit more on the application fees. So you have to ask. And then the last one is like a townhouse or like a regular house, whether it be attached or detached.
Right.
But regular renters really aren't really renting an entire townhouse. Sometimes they're renting out a floor of one, but they're usually way more money.
They're the, what are they called? The brownstones?
Yeah, so a brownstone is a type of townhouse.
Okay.
It's a townhouse that has a certain color facade.
Right.
And we can get into the construction of that and stuff like that. But it's like a very New York specific style of construction.
Right.
And it's like the typical Sex and the City staircase that people pose on when they visit New York City. But
Right.
brownstones are super expensive. Most of them go for like $5 to $20 million a piece to buy, and to rent is crazy depending on how they've been renovated.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of numbers. Yeah. But like something you mentioned was like there was some regulation change in 2021. And like I recently found out there's another regulation change that has happened, like the Fair Act. What is that?
So the Fair Act's big for New York City real estate, and there's a lot of headlines and clickbait titles. Essentially, it says no broker fees in New York, but that's a lie.
Okay.
There are still broker fees. And it's not that I'm fighting for my broker fee. You just have to know where the fee is going and where it's coming from. Essentially now, whoever hires the real estate broker or real estate agent pays the broker.
Right.
So as you as a renter show up to an apartment on your own, there's an agent that is listing the property. The landlord is paying that agent.
Okay.
Before the Fair Act, you would have had to pay that agent, which is unfair. Why would
Right.
you have to pay an agent that a landlord hired? Like, what does he have to do with you?
Right.
So it makes sense. So essentially for me, if you came up to me and say, Joe, I need an apartment, I would start the conversation with, and you know what? A lot of agents are afraid of the Fair Act. They think it's going to ruin their business. To me, it makes it easier. I say, well, listen, this is what happens. The Fair Act is a thing. I explain what it is the same way I just did. And I tell you, I would love to help you. I would love to give you my New York City expertise, my real estate advice, all of this, but there's a decent chance I'm going to have to charge you a broker fee because you are the one hiring me as a broker.
Right.
Right? And I would implore you, I'm like, listen, if you're a New York City veteran, you know how to find an apartment on your own, you know where to look, you know what neighborhoods you want, and you can go on Street Easy or Zillow or whatever and find your own apartment.
Right.
Where I find most of my clientele coming from now are those transplants that really need a broker. And you know, listen, I understand the financial struggle. It's tough. Paying 1 month, paying first month, paying security, paying a broker fee. You're paying like a down payment to essentially buy a house just for a rental. And it all disappears. So it's tough, but the conversation is really like, do you need my service?
Right.
So I can explain what I bring to the table as much as anybody else. There's probably 30,000 real estate agents in New York City, and unfortunately 2/3 of them are shit. You know, what I bring to the table is my New York City expertise, the amount of transactions and history I have in the New York City market, whether it be as a renter, a buyer, a seller, a landlord, a broker, every step of the way. I know most neighborhoods in New York City fairly well. I'm not going to say I know the whole city because the city is a really big place, even though it's relatively small. But I give everyone the opportunity. I tell them, listen, I don't want you to have to pay me if you can find the place on your own. But if you need my help, I'm here for you.
No, I mean, I think like the biggest part of this is the New York City expertise. Like a lot of people are going to underestimate that, and you having that, like it's like, I don't know, it's some sort of like matchmaking, I would think.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. I mean, and I probably brought this point up. You're hiring me, and you're going to spend the next couple weekends going out with me Saturday, Sunday morning. I'm not a therapist, but I hear a lot of people talk to me like I'm their therapist. We hang out, we go to a showing, oh, we have 10 minutes to kill, let's grab a cup of coffee, talk about the next place. I wind up hearing that somebody's cheated on their husband or something. I didn't ask for this. I try to keep it as professional as possible, but you're hiring someone that you want to talk to, hang out with. Like, you want to hire someone that can get in your head and know what you want and to be able to negotiate, especially when it comes to the sales side, you know? A rental agent, you know, you have to really bring a lot of value to the table now, especially with the Fair Act. And I don't push it down people's throats like a lot of people try to. But if you need my services, I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to fight for you to get the cheapest price, the best apartment, or whatever.
No, that's like honest work. Like you're helping people who actually need it. And there's a lot that people can just like figure out themselves. But if you think about it, like if I land in New York today and I have 48 hours to find like an apartment for myself, how do I do it?
All right, so as we started before, we start with the finances.
Right.
I need to, A, know what you can afford,
Okay.
and I need all of your financial documents to back that up, because to put in an offer to rent an apartment, I need your tax documents, your W-2s, your employment letter.
Mm-hmm.
I need a photocopy of your driver's license or some type of ID, so that when I submit the application with the offer, it's all there. Because when you go in New York City on a Saturday in the middle of summertime looking for an apartment, and you need an apartment in 48 hours or whatever,
Yeah.
there's going to be a line out the door if the place is priced appropriately.
Right.
And you have to assume that half, if not all, the people in that line are probably going to apply. And you have to also assume that they are all ready to go and have all their paperwork together. So if you're missing one document, or you're waiting from your human resources to get an employment letter together, don't even bother.
Right.
Because that apartment might be gone by Monday.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. Like, there's like 20 people, and there's like an application, and then you have to like, it's the first person who gets through their door.
Yep.
That's the kind of the policy that they have, right?
Exactly. So like my job in being a real estate agent is to make sure you're as prepared as possible, and to also present you as the best candidate for this unit.
Right.
So you're also saving a lot of time and energy, rather than going and looking at places or going to another neighborhood to look at an apartment that turns out to be crap. I can help save you a lot of time, you know? And as a real estate agent at a big brokerage, at the Corcoran Group, on the Prince team, we have resources to a lot of off-market listings, and we even have a lot of listings that pay our broker fee for you.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot less now since the Fair Act, but we have a huge network of like off-market listings coming to market. We know the inventory better than anybody else. So it's worth it sometimes to talk to a broker, whether you use them or not, because advice is free, you know?
Right, but like a question that I had was like, if there are 20 people who are like want to get an apartment, and isn't it the policy that it's first come, first serve?
So it really depends. I mean, as a landlord can never really discriminate, but they can pick a more qualified individual. If you make more money per year, if you have more money in liquid assets.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was just like whoever's application gets accepted first.
No, not at all. If anything, if apartment is very competitive,
Mm-hmm.
they can wait over the whole weekend, collect 20 applicants, and then message everybody, hey, we have 20 applicants. Give us your best and final offer. Jack the price up. Like, auction it up. And I've seen that happen, too.
And that's legal.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Damn.
So you got to be prepared. You have to know what to expect. You have to expect that to happen sometimes. And it depends on the market. In the summertime, you can have lines out the door and places potentially bidding up higher than what the asking price is.
I think one of the things that people really don't understand, like just the New York City energy, is that you got to make decisions quick.
Yeah.
They come up to the place and they're like, oh, I'm going to think about it and I'll get back. I've done that. I've done that with like 3 places when I landed here. I was like, oh, this is nice. Let me go check out the other place. I call back a day after.
No.
It's gone.
You need to, like, listen, whether you apply to 4 or 5 places, the $20 per place is worth it, because the next place you go see might already be off market by the time you go see it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if, you, like you said, you have 48 hours, you have like 1 weekend to go look for places before you have to fly out for work or do whatever, go back home.
Yeah.
You need to really know where you're going to look, refine that search down to like, whatever, the 6 or 10 places you go to tour. And you need to be prepared to apply to all or some right then and there, because they will disappear and you're going to be upset. And I always tell people that are on the fence, should I apply? Should I not? I'm like, okay, for the $20 it costs,
Yeah.
how upset are you going to be tomorrow if I say it's gone? Right?
Yeah.
And that's not me being salesy and trying to get you to rent an apartment with me. It's really being realistic, because that apartment is probably going to disappear for you.
Right.
So you need to be ready to go. And you're 100% right. New York City is all about action and being ready to make that decision. I've seen people that rented the first place they toured, and they were super happy with it. I've seen people that rented the first place they toured and they hated it. But the nice part with New York City is that every building has its own quirks and character, and you get to live in a different place every year potentially until you decide to buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
You got to make decisions quick, and like If it's your place, lock it down. If it's not, move on.
That's it. And generally, people have gotten the feel like the second they walk in the door,
Yeah.
unless they see a red flag outside, like mice coming in or out of the door or something like that. The second I watch their facial expression when they walk into an apartment. I don't look at the apartment. I don't talk about the square footage or the price. I look at them, like my renter that I'm there with,
Right.
so that I can help like gauge how they feel, because they'll know in that first instant.
Yeah.
You know?
They definitely know if they don't want it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't waste our time. I'll get a little like head nod kind of thing when the other broker's in the kitchen. I'm like, come on, let's get out of here.
That's good. So Joe, when I called you, you said something that like really shocked me. I was just like, is this even possible? You said that renting in New York is difficult, but buying seemed impossible. You told me that it is. Like, how do you, like, it still doesn't make sense to me. How do you do that?
Yeah, so I would say close to like 90, if not 99% of people I talk to never even think about buying real estate in New York City, especially in your 20s or 30s.
Right.
But I hear 100% of people complain about how much rent has gone up every single year.
Right.
Right? So the same apartment that, you know, during or just after COVID was renting for $3,000 is renting for $4,000 now. And guess what? In a couple of years, it's going to be $5,000 potentially. But I've known people, including myself as a prime example, that has bought a place in the city, a little starter apartment. You know, don't get me wrong, you have to hustle for a little bit to have a little down payment, but there's creative financing that you can do with less than 20% down. But if you buy a place, you can potentially keep your rent payment the same forever. And guess what? It's going to be tough those first couple of years because there's a reason not everybody buys. You need to have a down payment. And then you're probably not going to be, you might actually pay a little bit more than rent for the first year or two.
Okay.
Right? But with that number staying relatively the same, guess what? In 5 years, it's amazing. I bought a condo in the Upper East Side when rent for a little studio was like $2,400, $2,500 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And when I bought it with my mortgage, taxes, HOA, insurance, amenity fees, utilities, I was paying like $3,200 a month.
Okay.
And my friends were like, "You're an idiot. Why are you paying an extra $1,000 a month?" I was like, just wait. Just wait. So now a couple of years goes by. And don't get me wrong, I got lucky with timing the mortgage rates and stuff like that. But you have to just be time in the market, because now 4 or 5 years later, that same place still costs me about $3,000 a month. It's actually gone down a little bit because I got rid of my mortgage insurance. So it's under $3,000, and I'm renting it for $4,150 a month as a rental property.
Yeah.
So now, guess what? That place is still going to cost about $3,000 a month 10 years from now, and by then the rent will probably be $5,000 a month. I got a whole other income off of just that, and I'm not some big landlord.
Yeah.
You know, I have like a unit or two in the city. Is nice, and people think that's super unobtainable. But especially in the city with this hustle economy, I urge everybody to just, your first couple years in the city, get 6 roommates. Split up a 2 or 3 bedroom. I'm not saying get bunk beds unless you're absolutely crazy, which is like another step past what I'm even saying.
Yeah.
But like, put your head down, hustle, be with like-minded individuals with that hustle mentality, and pocket every dollar. And the whole, don't buy matchas, don't get a gym membership, don't do that. Listen, you can spend money, but you have to understand that everything in New York City is 10 times what everything else costs in the rest of the world. So you need to spend your money appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you can always hustle more. There's always an extra 10 minutes in the day. You can walk dogs. You can sell Facebook Marketplace furniture that you find in the trash. Like, there's ways to make an extra couple bucks in the city. And I'm not saying that not going to Starbucks every day is going to let you buy an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm big proponent on that immigrant mentality, the hustle mentality, like make as much money as you can, suffer now, succeed later.
No, but you just don't talk like that without doing it. You've done that. Like, you had that experience. You told me that, I think it was you had 6 roommates.
Yeah, so my first apartment in New York City after college, I had 6 roommates in an apartment that I found on Facebook.
Okay.
I never even met these people.
Yeah.
One of them had to move out. They were filling a bedroom in a shared unit with fake walls. I got a little, I think it was like 4 foot by 10 foot box of a room with no window, no closet. It didn't even fit a twin size bed in all 4 corners of it because it wasn't even a square room.
Right.
But guess what? I was in the action in the city, hustling. I didn't care who I was living with as long as I was safe, you know. But even then, you suffer a little bit. I think I was paying like $1,000 a month, maybe a little bit less back then.
In the city?
It was up in Harlem, but you know, I suffered and did what I had to do to save up, bank every dollar I could, invest a little bit, do this, get ready for a down payment, and then I had to suffer again. You know, it costs a little bit more for a little bit, but a lot of these new developments, they offer a lot of incentives. Like I had a prime example. I had a guy I was talking to on Instagram that saw my page. And he said, you know, like I'm renting this place down in the financial district. I'm paying like $5,000 or $6,000 a month for a bedroom with 3 roommates in a 3-bedroom. You know, he's a finance guy in his 20s. He makes decent money. He has bonuses in the bonuses around the holiday time that are pretty nice. I was like, dude, listen, what are you doing still blowing money on rent? You pay, I don't know, like $60,000 a year on rent. That's a whole down payment almost. So I showed him a couple of places that had like no taxes for 10 years or a place that had amenity fees waived for 2 years or this or that. I found a place that covered all of his closing costs. He has a beautiful 2-bedroom. You know, he has a little bit of money.
Right.
But guess what? In like 2 years, it's going to be cheaper than rent. And he's going to have a place for the rest of his life that he can rent out as a landlord, make money off of, and one day his kids can move into. That's going to be my ultimate goal. Seeing my kids like that go to school in the city, like NYU or something, staying in one of my condos that I own. I think that'd be like a real full circle moment that I can't wait for.
Nah, that's like a good thing. Like you're already setting the platform for that.
Exactly. Suffer now. It's the immigrant mentality.
Yeah.
You know, you can suffer right now, but guess what? Even if it's not even in my lifetime, my goal is to make that portfolio for my kids or their kids or whatever.
You know, while talking to you, I'm just like, should I move out of my apartment? Should I just go like probably live on like a caravan or something on the streets?
There's an extreme to everything. I mean, listen, I make decent money now. I do luxury real estate. I still go and get dollar pizza at night or go on Too Good To Go to save a couple bucks because I probably only have $3,000 in my checking account because I invest every dollar I have to buy that next property.
Nah, that's good. And those dollar pizzas are really good.
They're not bad. I mean, listen, they could be better. Don't tell my Italian relatives.
That's cool. Okay, so what's the wildest apartment that you've seen, like in terms of like amenities and like all of these things? And yeah, just let's go with that.
I mean, there's always a lot of quirky apartments. I've seen one unit that a famous artist owned on like a penthouse unit in Midtown that the regular pictures of the listing were AI generated, and it was just like a white walled unit. But when you get in there, every wall is painted with rainbows. There's crazy chandeliers. Her home was an art studio, and I can link it to show you later, but it was insane. And in some of these places you look at and you're like, wow, this is like a piece of art, but like this person's unit is theirs. Like you can tell. I've seen units with full-size slides in it, like from a playground, like
in the city,
like a duplex unit with a slide. I've seen places with like a canopy, not a trap, like a net almost that kids can lay in. And then a lot of the new buildings now, their amenities are crazy. Like if I told you your building could have a bowling alley, a paddleball court, a racquetball court, a full-size NBA basketball court, a cinema, a cigar lounge, a wine room, like these new buildings.
I'd say you're high.
Yeah. These new buildings are leaning in towards the work from home culture where a lot of people need their apartment building to be like their whole neighborhood, a whole campus. Most of them even have a Whole Foods now. So like a prime example is 1 Manhattan Square.
Okay.
The craziest amenities I've ever seen in my whole life. Like everything I just named and probably like 10 more things I can't even remember off the top of my head because the list of amenities are insane.
Right.
Roof decks, playgrounds, everything. Pools, jacuzzis, spas. Like if you couldn't even think of another thing you would need to go outside of your own building for, which is crazy because to me, I'm like New York City. I'd rather live in a shoebox and go all over the place. But so many people now are going to that work from home, staying a little bit more into the community side of your building, you know? And they're offering crazy incentives because there's new developments. They're trying to get people in there. And it's a whole new way of living in New York City.
But like, how much do these cost? Like, are they like really expensive?
No, I mean, a starter apartment. Here, let's pull this up right here. All right, so in 1 Manhattan Square, which is one of my favorite buildings in Manhattan, one of these new developments, you can get a 1-bedroom for...
Wait, let me guess the price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here, let me show you some pictures.
Yeah.
So you can just swipe.
All right. Nothing less than like 5 million or something.
So for this place that has all these amenities and everything, it's just a bit over $1 million. This unit particularly is 1.2, but they have crazy incentives. They cover the taxes for like the next half of a decade because of their development. They had a deal. And with the new mortgage rates, we'll use a round number like 6%, $1 million property. Let's say this one would be like $5,000 a month as carrying costs.
What do you mean by like taxes that they cover?
So these new developments have a lot of incentives where a certain fraction of the building might be low-income housing, which means that the city covers their taxes for 10 years or 20 years. And
like what kind of taxes? Like the property taxes?
Property taxes.
Okay.
Which, it adds up to the monthly total. But for a luxury unit with all this stuff, like a rental, you're going to throw away $70,000 a year on rent. You can buy a place here and live in basically everything. It's a utopia.
I mean, that's like a good place to live.
Yeah, it's crazy. And a lot of these new development buildings are filling up really quick. But a lot of people are flocking to them because like they have golf simulators in them. They have everything. I can't even tell you. They have more amenities than the city itself has. Like most people want to live in the Upper East Side because of Central Park. People want to live down in this area because it's near the water. These buildings have crazy amenities. They're very like self-sustaining communities, and they're offering crazy incentives to fill them up quick because the developers want to make their money back after they're built.
No, I completely get that because like, I think it was like a year back I was looking for apartments and I'd been here for like 3 years and I found nothing that was good. Then I went to this place on, I think it was like Hell's Kitchen or something, or like close to like Columbus Circle, 11th Avenue.
There's a lot of new buildings over there.
Yeah, and I was just like, what the hell's happening
Dude,
here?
they're crazy. They're all like giant glass skyscrapers with crazy amenities too, and some of them have crazy deals. You have no idea. And they have crazy balconies and views too.
They're like affordable. Like they're not like
I mean, listen, everything in Manhattan is a spectrum and it depends on where you're at. So you need to know, you have to be honest with yourself. And I'm very crass. I'm very upfront. If your budget offends you, then we need to reevaluate what your budget is.
right.
If you tell me your budget's, $4,000 a month, and I send you a place and you tell me, oh, this is terrible, when in reality it's probably the best you're going to get for $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to change the budget a little bit.
I think it's also like an expectation thing. Like if someone's coming from like, I don't know, like Minnesota and they're paying like $1,000 a month and they're getting like a decent, good apartment, and they come here and they're like, I've heard New York City's expensive. I'll put $1,500. Let's see where that gets me.
Yeah. Negotiating is possible.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But a lot of people have really unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. In Minnesota or wherever you're talking about, there's not a line of 50 people behind you.
Yeah.
It's a different planet here, and that's why there's 30,000 real estate agents, because of the amount of volume of transactions that we do and the amount of times that people move and landlords list places and new buildings get built. It's crazy. There's cranes up all over the place. They're putting new buildings up, and there's still not enough apartments.
Yeah. That's the crazy part. The demand is so high and the supply is still not that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what's like a mistake that first-time homeowners make?
So there's a couple of mistakes. I mean, number one is thinking that you have to put 20% down. I'm an old school mentality where I like to do that to try to erase a need for a mortgage insurance and more other expenses down the line. But thinking that it's unobtainable is the first mistake.
Right.
Because, like I said, if you put your head down and hustle and don't do bottle service at the clubs every weekend, it's way more obtainable than people think, especially if you spend money with a scarcity mindset for that suffer now, win later. But it's also not branching out. Like, you can go a couple blocks further east towards York Avenue or East End Avenue and get a crazy deal.
Right.
Compared to if you were just like, I need to be on Park Avenue, that's it.
Yeah.
Because guess what? It's a little bit off the beaten path. If you told me in Alphabet City, like East Village, that Avenue B and C are as nice as they are today, compared to 10 years ago, I would think you were crazy.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's enough people that want to live over there. These developers are building new buildings. These landlords are investing in it. And they're turning into a totally different ecosystem, essentially.
Yeah.
Even places like Harlem. Like, my parents, I told them one of the units I was buying was up on 91st Street. They're like, oh my God, that's Harlem. I'm like, no, it's the Upper East Side. Like, it's perfect. It's perfectly fine. My first apartment was on 128th Street in St. Nick on West Harlem. They're like, oh, you're living up there? I'm like, no, it's like not that bad, you know? But I implore everyone to go look around, do their own research, trust your broker as far as you could throw them.
Yeah.
You know, like, listen, I know what I say is what I know and what I'm confident in telling people, but some people, unfortunately, are not the best, and they might not lie, but might not tell you the entire truth. So you got to do a little bit of your own investigation and spend a night in the area, especially if you're going to buy. Like, I would highly say if you're not moving into a neighborhood you're specifically a professional in, like in terms of like knowing the neighborhood and the restaurants and the streets, go rent a hotel or an Airbnb, not Airbnb, but go rent a unit or stay there for the night and get a feel for what the place is like when the lights turn off. See what restaurants open up and what bars there are and stuff like that. Or go hang out there on a weekend.
Do a vibe check.
Yeah. A what? Oh, vibe check.
Yeah.
Like, I had a couple looking at a place in Brooklyn, and they were Manhattanites their whole life. And they're like, listen, we don't really know this area too well. I'm like, listen, after our showing, go grab dinner or something in the area on your own, without me, unbiased. Go just walk and find a place randomly. Don't go on Google. Don't go on Reddit. Don't go on nothing. Go find a place, sit there, talk to the waitress or the waiter. Ask them, you know? The same way you would ask, hey, what do you recommend for the appetizer? Ask them, hey, what do you think about the neighborhood? Are you from here? Like, how is it? We're looking at a house or a condo. What do you think? You're going to get an unbiased opinion from a local.
Right.
You know? Other than asking the rats in New York City, because they probably know better than anybody else, you know?
Now, what's the way to check, like, about the rats?
So, not so much on the rats, but like things like bed bugs and lead and asbestos.
Yeah.
When you sign a lease for an apartment, you have to read the lease.
Right.
Same thing with buying. There's disclosures on the back end of the lease that tells you what the landlord knows about the unit. So if there's been lead, if there's been bed bugs, if there's asbestos, it's all in there. A lot of people click yes, 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 yes on DocuSign, or while they're flipping the pages at lease signing, they're just signing and initialing every page.
Right.
You have to read the lease. There's a lot of information in there that you're not going to get until you're at that lease signing potentially.
Yeah, I think like with those documents look like they're like 10 pages long, and you're just like, I have to lock down this place. I mean, I'll put it in ChatGPT now. But
yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Like, if you can put an entire PDF of a contract that's 200 pages long into ChatGPT and say, listen, I'm a renter in this scenario. I'm signing this lease. Tell me what's good and what's bad about it or what I should bring up.
Yeah.
And I love AI. I mean, listen, for stuff like that, like a board package or an application that's 100 pages long, it can analyze it roughly. And don't get me wrong, you still have to double check.
Yeah.
But I'm like, listen, does it say anything about amenity fees?
Yeah.
And it'll pull you right there. It's even faster than pressing Control F and finding the word amenity, because it'll tell you what the fees are and calculate them.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You can ask crazy questions to it. And, you know, it's an asset, but you also have to read it. You know, the actual lease, because sometimes these leases are photocopies of a photocopy of a PDF that it's hard to read even in person.
No, I did not know about this thing, like the lead, like the asbestos.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of these buildings are over 100 years old, and asbestos was an insulating compound that they used for a long time before they realized it gets stuck in your lungs forever and causes lung disease.
Yeah.
I come from a construction background, so like that stuff I can talk about more than many other real estate agents, because I have about 10 years experience as a New York City construction inspector and a project manager.
You do have the whole cycle.
Well, I even the construction side of stuff is important, but it really comes into play when I work with buyers, especially when they're looking at townhouses or brownstones, because a lot of these places are 200 years old, and they need crazy gut renovations. Or somebody that's buying an older co-op or condo that wants to renovate it, there's ways to do things with a budget, and there's ways to do things to get the maximum quality you can possibly get in your little 800 square foot apartment.
Right.
You know? So like I renovated my rental property that I have now, and it turned it into that $3,000 to a $4,000 renter, like overnight.
You said there are like some tricks and stuff that you can use.
Yeah.
Like not like tricks, but
yeah, so I mean, the simple stuff is always saying renovate a kitchen and bathroom, you get the most bang for your buck. But it really comes down to the small decisions you make, like what type of materials. So I like quartz countertops because they're synthetic, they're a little bit cheaper for that, and they don't stain, they don't absorb water, especially when you have a glass of wine that might leave a ring there for the rest of your life if you had a natural stone like a marble or a quartzite. When it comes to the bathroom, even picking what type of tile you use, I like larger format tile, which means less grout. which means it's easier to clean and less chance of leaks.
Okay.
You know, someone would be like, oh, I like the herringbone mosaic tile.
If you have the money, put it.
Listen, if money was no object, then you wouldn't even care. You would just sign the check and go. But there's a lot of things to worry about, and a lot of times you need to work with a good designer. You got to work with a good general contractor. And my goal as a real estate agent is to be able to give you referrals for all these people in all these different sectors of fields to make you as informed and to save you and make you as much money as possible. You know, with most people I refer movers to, and then I also refer my contractors. I refer cleaning ladies. I know the best laundry services. I act like a concierge, not a real estate agent.
No, that's like really good. Like I feel like I went to like this real estate broker once, and just to like rent, and it was just like to the point. Like, here's an apartment, you like it? I'm like, nah, too bad. We got another one coming tomorrow. You want to check it out?
Yeah.
He showed me a picture. I was like, no, this is not it. And with the way you're telling me that you have like basically so many things beyond it, you're doing like the extra leg of the journey.
Yeah, like so anytime I go to an apartment, a showing, I have a laser that measures. I have a regular tape measure in case that one dies. I have an outlet tester to test outlets, especially more towards like closing and home inspections and stuff like that. And I also, if there's not a floor plan, if it's a funky layout, I take notes of certain dimensions of these units because sometimes the person's couch might not fit and they might not realize until it's too late where they're like, oh, I want to put an offer on this place, but I don't know if it's going to be the right size or I don't know if my bed frame is going to fit or whatever. There's so many parts of this industry that a lot of people just kind of like open a door, show you an apartment, and leave.
Right.
Where there's so many steps that I find I could bring value where a lot of people can't. And it really, for me, I like working with first-time home buyers because they're like a blank slate.
Right.
Like they really need as much help as possible. And sometimes I deal with the dumbest people in the city making the biggest financial decisions of their life.
Yeah.
But I fill in those gaps and get them up to speed and get them ready to go and make a good decision. You know?
It's like a commitment that they have to make. Like, and you kind of help them with that.
Especially the first-time home buyers because they're making the first big decision of their life like that a lot of times. And New York City, like we said, the condos, the co-ops, there's so many nuanced differences here that someone that grew up in Arkansas just knows houses. And they were, like, I grew up in Long Island. We worry about flooding. And here you got lead, you got rats, you got land leases, co-ops, condos, all this crazy stuff. And, like, you know, most people just don't even think about a lot of this. Until it comes to that time to write a check for $100,000 for a down payment. And they're like, oh, my God, I'm dying. What do I do? I'm so stressed out.
Right.
But, you know, there's different levels to this, and getting people as knowledgeable and as prepared as possible is my first step. You know?
No, that's amazing. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
What's the step-by-step thing for someone to buy an apartment here?
All right. First step, same with renting. Figure out your budget. Know how much you have down for a down payment. Talk to a lender, and I will give a list of reference lenders that I know have been successful and quick to respond and very professional. But listen, you can pick whoever you want. Find a lender, get pre-approved if you're financing. Unless you're a cash buyer, it's a little different, but not the normal case for most people. Once you're pre-approved, you have all your documents in place, then we start really searching for what is in your price range and finding what you like, what you don't like is different than finding a rental apartment. Because this is a place that you're going to potentially live in, rent out, renovate. Like, it's a lot more possibilities and a lot longer of a time frame. So then we find the area or the general type of building. Some people don't really care about the area. They're like, just put me downtown. I don't care what neighborhood. I'm like, you know what? It's a little bit harder sometimes because there's a lot more inventory to look at. But then we start focusing on other things. Like, do you care about amenities? Do you care about outdoor space? Do you want a balcony? Do you want a place with a roof deck? Do you want a place with a pool? Do you want a place with a gym? What gym do you go to? You know, like, I have to go to Equinox. I'm like, okay, well, they're everywhere, so we don't really have to worry. But if you go to some little personal trainer or if you go to some Pilates gym that's only in this area, listen, do you want to stay near that? Do you want to be able to get there quick? Where do you work? Where do you commute to? There's a million different questions to ask. And once we whittle everything down, past finances, past location, past the type of unit, then we're probably left with, like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 units that are currently on market. And we go and look at them because you really don't see it from the pictures, from the phone, from Street Easy.
Yeah.
You go and look. I schedule all the showings. I get as much information from the listing agents as humanly possible. And then we weigh options. And see that first initial reaction in their eyes when we open the door, because you can tell. It's like night and day. And like you see some units too that like I might think, wow, this is the nicer, like, you know, HGTV where they show the $3 million listings, and do you like the beach house? Do you like the penthouse? Or do you like the rental property? And like, you don't know until the end.
Right.
You might think something is more valuable to you or me, but then the person that is the one writing the checks, my buyer, they're the ultimate decision maker.
Right.
So then if they like the place, then we formulate an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And it really depends on the property and what I think we can get out of the seller, slash what is worth asking for versus not, and how much we can possibly gain in forms of negotiating. And then we submit the offer. And then after the offer, we go back and forth, negotiate, but that's what my expertise is. We go back and forth. Then comes the contract, where we bring the attorneys in, sign a contract to sale. Then comes due diligence.
What is that?
So essentially then the attorneys and myself go through the building's finances, because you're not just buying an apartment, you're buying into a building that you care about the building's finances. What if they haven't renovated the roof or the elevator in 20 years, and that's going to be due tomorrow or next year? It's a lot of things that come into play as an owner that people don't think about, and the finances of the condo or the co-op or whatever really come into play because you're investing into that. So the due diligence, we find all that information out. Then during that whole time, the mortgage is being processed and all this stuff and getting confirmed. And once it's all done, we close. We give our closing gifts and keys, and that's it. But where I'm also different is that I stay very much involved after the closing happens, right? Okay. So after those keys are done, I don't take my check and leave. Like, I find it very joyful for me to closing gifts for my buyers or my sellers. It's not to keep them in my pocket as a future client, but because, you know what? Them trusting me to help them is the biggest financial decision of their life. Like, I want to give back to them. Also, I'm making, obviously, money on these transactions. Yeah. So, like, my last buyer in his apartment that he was moving out of into his new condo that he just purchased, he had, like, the dingiest Keurig I've ever seen. It looked like it had lime scale on it from, like, 10 years. Like, it was probably from college. So I bought him a really nice espresso machine. And I'm like, you know what? I can't wait for him to wake up in his condo the first day after getting those keys, make a cup of coffee, and think like, wow, like, you know what? Like, life, like, how much better can this be? I own Manhattan real estate. I'm making a cup of coffee in a condo that I own. And you know what? My real estate agent made this so easy. That's the whole goal. Right. You know? Because at the end of the day, I'm helping people buy stuff that I don't own. I'm selling stuff I don't own. I'm like a facilitator of these transactions, and I'm helping people make the right decision. Right. You know?
Well, not exactly to compare, but like it's like the same thing as like a doctor giving like birth to a baby, helping someone with the whole journey. Yeah. You help them with the apartment or the house.
And guess what? Like, that buyer called me a couple weeks later. He's like, hey, I need a handyman to install a closet system or to hang a TV or do whatever. And I have resources for that. I have discounted rates for movers. I have this, I have that. I gave him the best guy ever. He hung the TV. He built the desk for him, did whatever. My goal is to like be a part of this guy's next transaction because he can't do it without me because I'm just that helpful.
Yeah, you're the whole package.
It's like kill him with kindness, but I'm a cursing New York Italian at the same time.
That's a fine balance.
Yeah, exactly.
So Joey, you're also a content creator. Has that helped you in any way in your real estate work?
Yeah, so I mean, I've had people reach out to me that I probably never would have been able to see, and especially with Instagram and TikTok and YouTube being the form of a visual resume these days, you need to be on social media. And the last buyer I was just talking about reached out to me on Instagram. He was like, hey, you know, I got a nice bonus this year. I'm looking to buy my first apartment from Instagram.
Damn.
He's like, hey, I don't know if you remember, you came to a house party with me a couple of years ago or whatever. I'm friends with so-and-so. I need help buying a place. All from Instagram. And you know how many agents I know barely post or don't even have Instagrams? And they complain how hard the industry is. Like, come on.
And that was like a really good deal.
Right? Yeah. And you know what? Making Instagrams and stuff doesn't feel like work to me. Making these social media stuff, yeah, don't get me wrong. It's a little bit of time consuming and it takes time to learn how to edit and post, but filming the unique parts of my life and my industry is what makes me unique and what makes other people want to use me as a broker or an agent. So my whole goal with that is just to lead to as many conversations with people as possible, because you could be sitting on the subway next to a bum. You could be sitting next to somebody that was a violinist in a New York Philharmonic. You could be sitting next to Jamie Dimon, like a billionaire next to you. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Because the melting pot of the city is what's the most valuable part and how unique it is. And guess what? I have the opportunity to live and work here and own here and film little TikToks and Instagrams about New York City.
Right.
That people can only dream of.
Yeah. That's such a good answer.
Love it.
Yeah. So Joey, like, what's next? Like, what do you want out of life? Like you said, you want your family to move here. Like, you want to own condos and everything. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, the next step for me is, as a real estate agent, is to help as many people as I can change from the renter mentality to buying that first starter apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's like an $800,000 condo or a $300,000 co-op, you can buy property here, and if it's the right place and I can help vet it out, I can help save you a lot of money and make generational money.
Right.
And generational wealth that'll help you for the rest of your life, help your kids for the rest of your life, be a safe storage of wealth alongside other investments, whether now or in the future, and help other people buy places. And then in the other side of things, also buy more properties of my own. I have properties here in New York City, but my ultimate goal, I want to buy property in Italy soon.
Yeah, you were showing me.
Yeah.
I like that place.
I'm itching.
I'm going to come there and visit you.
No problem. I'll get a place with an extra room for you.
All right. Thanks, man.
Awesome.
So the final thing I wanted to ask you is, like, what's one piece of advice you'd want to leave for someone who wants to buy an apartment here?
One piece of advice for someone who wants to buy an apartment in New York City. Buy the most expensive place you can afford today, because 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, whatever, down the line, you'll regret not buying the slightly more expensive place that was a little bit more difficult, because you're going to outgrow it. Whether you have a wife or kids or a boyfriend or girlfriend or accumulate more stuff, your carrying costs and expenses stay relatively the same compared to what rent increases are. But 5 years down the line, you're going to wish you had a bigger place.
All right.
I kick myself a little bit for that, too. I wish I bought a 2-bedroom instead of a 1-bedroom. But listen, I bought the most expensive place I can afford at that time.
Uh-huh.
And I know I did as best as I could.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, man.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this.
So one question for you. When are you going to buy an apartment in the city?
This whole conversation, I've just been thinking about that. It's been in the back of my head. I'm like, I thought it was impossible, and now it kind of looks possible. And now it's like becoming part of that dream where you come to New York. It's like, I've done the part where I stayed in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to, like, buy something, and I want to do that soon.
So hypothetically, say you pay $3,000 a month in rent, right? 3,000 times 12. And now say you rent for 5 years, times 5. And that's assuming there's no rent increases.
Mm-hmm.
That's $180,000 in rent. Burned, gone, to a landlord, whatever.
Right.
$180,000 is way more than you even need for a down payment for a starter apartment.
You're making me think. You're making me think.
Burn that money. It made not even like 1% interest, negative infinity. It's like an undefined amount of money lost on rent that you could have bought that first property. It would have been set. So now just think about the next 5 years. Because, 5 years ago, you might not have had the down payment. But now that next 5 years, you want to spend another 180, or maybe probably closer to 300,000 with the rent increases.
You're making me think a lot, Joey.
Yeah, man. Think about it.
I've just been thinking about this whole podcast. I've been like, what have I been doing? It's been 4 years.
I mean, listen, let's run the numbers. Let me know when, after we turn off the cameras, we'll run the numbers. I'll let you know when you're going to buy the next place.
All right, perfect. Let's do that.
Awesome. Thanks, dude.
Thank you so much
Have
for
a
doing
good
this, man.
Yeah,
Loved
man.
having you.
Thank you for having me.